Okay. Do you guys have any questions? Have you looked at the data unit? That's kind of what we were going to talk about. Since Jesse is here, I think what we'll do is we'll spend about half an hour. I can go through some of the Google Colabs notebooks and things like that. And then as I was looking through it, I thought maybe it would benefit for us to kind of go into breakout rooms and you could try some of those things. I could sit here all day and I could keep going and I could show you how to do it. And then, I tell students, sometimes students are like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. And they go back and try and do it on their own. And then they're like, oh, it makes no sense to me. And so that's, that happens all the time. So I thought maybe we'll spend about half an hour, 30, 35 minutes. I'll go over, show you some things. And then there's like plenty of practice in that unit that you can kind of go over and we could come in, do 2 or 3 breakout rooms and we could pop in and help you guys make sense out of it. And, since there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 of you, can't count, 6 of you, we could even do like pairs and you can talk to each other. That really seems to help students. And that's usually what I do during in-class sessions. When I have my sync sessions, as we do, a couple of hours in the evening, I talk for about 45 minutes and then I put them in breakout rooms in 2s. And that helps them collaborate and figure out, talk to each other and see, well, this is how this works or whatever. Does that sound okay? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get this started. I'm going to see if I can get to our homepage here. Okay, so I'm going to go to Unit 8 and then I will start sharing. Okay, I will start from the top and then we can just go through the units. Okay. And probably, let me see if I can close some tabs. That might help. I don't know. I think it will help, but okay. So the first thing talks about Google Trends. Did you guys have a chance to look at some of these things at all?
Yeah, I made it like 3/4 of the way through.
Okay. Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. How are you all?
I'm all right. So Michael, just to give you an idea, the plan is to like half an hour, I was going to go through the Google Colabs notebooks and then I was going to put students into breakout rooms so we can kind of let them try things and help them out. So, okay, so Google Trends, you said you've looked at Google Trends, you kind of figured out what it was doing or not really?
Yeah, I did.
You did.
That part was easiest for me.
That was easy. Okay. All right. Okay, so that is just a tool that talks about, data and what people do with data, all the data that's collected, right? So if you go and search for something, it gives you trends. You can try and search for, I don't know, chocolate ice cream, whatever, video games, and you look in there and you can see what it did for the past 12 months. And now everybody searches for vaccine and coronavirus and things like that. So that's just showing you the trend of what's happening out there. It's just good to play around with it to see what all they collect from us, all this data that they collect from us, I'm sure, all the interesting stuff. Okay, so then we go on to look at the data to see what we can do with the data. And usually I think that's where it gets a little dicey for students. At least you get started with what it does. So I should really come up with ideas to talk about things because my computer is getting slower by the day. Okay, so this is again a video, I think, that I don't want to go through, so you can watch that on your own time. I'm going to go to yet another lesson. So we'll go to the next one, which is where the actual Google Colabs notebooks and all that stuff starts. Is this something that you have tried out, or is this kind of where you got stuck? Has anybody tried out the Colabs notebook so far? Do you work with any of the data sets?
I did I did this section.
Okay.
And
Okay.
yeah, I actually thought that was really helpful because then I was able to manipulate the graphs
Okay.
by
Yeah.
plugging in that CVS stuff.
Right.
But that's about as far as I got, other
Okay.
than reading the other material.
Okay. So if you click on what it says is essentially you start with the instructions here and it says, you know, we use these notebooks. They have most of the things built in. All you have to do is type in some code, follow some instructions, and we've pretty much done everything. So if you go in here, it says create a notebook. So you click on that and it opens up your Google Colabs notebooks. And then there's a button that says create a new notebook. So you want to go here and say new notebook at the bottom. Okay, so if you say new notebook, it will let you put in a name and it has nothing in it. And if we go back to the instructions here, it says just type some code in there, right? That is really the first activity. So, and then the rest of it goes on to talk about what these tools are. So we have the pandas and the matplotlib. These are just tools that help us go through this data unit. For example, we have the data, right, in CSV file, which is nothing but like columns of data. You take that and you convert it into data frames using this software. And it's all there. We put in all the code for you. All you have to do is run it in the right order. And then the matplotlib is another software that lets you create all these charts from all the data. So we use all of these things. So you're really using things. You're really not doing anything more than that, right? I really hope these things would work faster, but it's taking super long time. Let's go here to the copy of the dogs that I already made. So for example, here, it always says make a copy before you start. So whenever you open a Google Colabs notebook, you click on file and you say save a copy in the drive. That way it makes a copy for you. So I already made a copy of this. And what we are talking about is all these statements on the top. This is import matplotlib. Without importing these libraries, you're not going to be able to use all of these things. Okay, so now let's see, finally we got an untitled. So here is our new Colab notebook. And if you type in some Python code here, whatever you want, right? And you hit run, it's gonna run it and it's gonna just print the word hello because that's all this is doing. And so that's how all of your sample Colab notebooks that we have in here has been done. So in there, you will find all of this. And this is just explaining that that's what the pandas and the matplotlib is doing. So we'll go to the next lesson. That's all there is in here. And in the next lesson is where we talk about the dogs data set. So we have a data set called dogs that has columns of data. And this is one of those that talk about some kind of charts that you can make. This is Cataplot, which goes way ahead of where I want to be. So we'll take a look at the beginning of that talks about bar charts, histograms, things like that. So let me close this Colabs notebook so that it's not taking up all my resource, and perhaps close a whole bunch of other tabs. Close that, close that, close that. Hopefully all that will help. There's one more here. Those all my replets, those take a long time. Okay, hopefully. Okay, so here, anytime it says download the dog's CSV file. So we have CSV files, right? I downloaded that. So here, if we go into here's my CSV file. When you drag it and drop it, you want to make sure that on the left-hand side, you have the folders things picked, okay, to make sure that you're actually dropping it into the right section. And then you go in here and you drag this dogs.csv and you can drop it in here. If you are somewhere else other than the folder, then you do get an error message with that. And hopefully anytime soon, I see my docs data set. Okay, so here we go. Here's the data set that we are working with, the dog data. And this is a CSV file that has all the different data. And this is what we import into that Google Colabs notebook. So by looking at data, we try to figure out, for example, you look at this column data, you can see what breed has the maximum lifespan. And to go through this data set and try to figure out things is, it's easier if you were to get charts and things like that, you can visualize. So the matplotlib helps us make these charts based on the data set that's given. So the dogs.csv is essentially a file that has all the data, and then we use the tools here to be able to make those charts, okay? So if you go down here, this talks about the data set. That's all this does. So you have your data, and sometimes we have to clean data. For the most part, the data that you're given are clean. As we go through, we'll figure out what, what we can eliminate, what you look at data. Sometimes it's not good, you clean it. And so by looking at this, you can say, what's the maximum lifespan, the count of the dogs versus maximum lifespan, right? So you can see that about 15 years, we have like 25 count, right? So that helps us visualize some of the answers that we are looking for. And that's essentially what we are going to do in this unit. So you look at data and see what questions can I ask and can I answer them with the data that's given, right? For example, which breeds are the best dogs for hunting? So what does this data show you? Which dog breed has the highest maximum lifespan, or which breed groups live the longest? Things like that. So let's go to the next one where we actually have the Google Colabs notebooks. We make a copy of that. So in every lesson, you're essentially making a copy of the Google Colabs notebooks as given, and you change a few things. In some of them, you simply run it. In some of them, you change a few things to see what's going on. Since I have this, I will use this. And it doesn't look like it put my dogs.csv there. I don't see it. Let's try it again. So you copy it over there. And yeah, it says you have to upload it again the next time. Okay, well, I still don't see it, but oh, it's there at the bottom. Okay, let me try to run it. So you run the first thing, that will get all the stuff inputted, and you have to run these things in the right order. So if you run the bottom one first without running the top one, it's going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. So you have to import the matplotlib, then you import the pandas, then you download the dogs.csv file, drag it and drop it. And then you create the data frame and so on and so forth. Finally, my dogs.csv appeared there. Okay, well, that's coming up. Bar charts. So we start with bar charts, and then we talk about histograms, and then we talk about scatter plots. So here is a bar chart that was generated. What information can you get from bar charts, right? So looking at a bar chart like this, you have a maximum lifespan. This is just using one column of data. You could use any one column of data, and it gives you the counts of the number of dogs with that lifespan. And so there's a little video that you can watch on that. So if you open this Colab notebook and make a copy, I won't make a copy of that, but I do have some things here. So that's done. Then you run the second one. Because I have my dogs.csv that I dragged and dropped, that part is done. Now it takes all the data that is in that file and makes a data frame. So essentially data frame is it finds all the columns. And then now if you go to df.columns, it says, okay, I know these are the columns that I get from this data. And that's what that does, okay? So once it has identified all the columns that is in there, then I come here and I can run my different plots. And this one is giving me a scatter plot. But if you look here, the bar chart that is generated here comes from a similar Google Colabs notebook. So you go into the Colab notebook and you make a copy. And what we are doing there is essentially changing some of these things. So if you look in the scatter plot here, scatter plot uses multiple columns, whereas a bar chart uses a single column, right? We only have single columns here. So if you look at the breed count, how many dogs are of each breed. And so this talks about the sorting. Some of them are sorted, some of them are not sorted. For example, if you do sorted, then this is what it looks like. Which one looks better, right? Without sorting, this looks better because it goes off the x-axis, which is the breed and the count. Now, if you look at it, you can say, well, this one has the lowest and this one has the highest, which is like the working dog. I can't read that quite well. I have to enlarge that. And this is, I think, the mixed breed. right? So essentially you're using this to analyze data and see what you can find from the data. And then this is talking about the sum or average of a column. So you can find the average of the maximum weights. Okay, so there is code in there just like this in each one of them that talks about how do you get this. So let's see if I can go to the next one since we've done bar charts. And some things like these are not super useful, right? So your goal should be to open it up and play around with a few things and say, well, is this going to be any good for me? This really doesn't do me any good because it shows all the different weights, too many different weights and counts, and doesn't really give me any good data when I look at it, or, I can't come to any good conclusion by looking at it. Okay, so while that's coming up here, let's talk about the scatter plot. Bar charts with single columns versus what about two columns? How does the maximum weight of a dog affect the lifespan of a dog? So now we are doing correlation. We are looking at two different columns of data. So let's see if I ran the others. Let's run this and generate a scatter plot of this. So this scatter plot is maximum weight versus maximum lifespan. So you can look at it and say, well, do the dogs that weigh less live longer, or do the dogs that are heavier, how do they relate? How do they correlate? And so here is our scatter plot. We have the maximum weight and the maximum lifespan. And looking at this data, you can see that as the weight increases, the lifespan is like at an 8, right? And there are a few dogs in that category, not that many. And if you look here, most of them between 0 and 25 pounds have a lifespan of like 16. The average is like 15 is where we have the most, right? So you can come to some conclusion looking at these two columns of data. And then if you go down here, there's a range chart that talks about, well, how do we classify this? So it's the same scatter plot with a couple of vertical lines. And if you look at the code here that says, okay, here's a scatter plot, X and Y defines these columns. This is where you get that from, right? And these columns come from up here where we defined our column names. So when you put these columns in, they have to match exactly to these column names that you have from your data. And you can change these. So if you want to go down here and say, well, if I want to look at maximum height instead of maximum weight, then you'd come here. And usually what I like to do is I go here and I copy it. That way I'm not making any mistakes. So you copy maximum height and you come down and you put it here and you say X equals maximum height. And I still, maybe I want to look at lifespans. I don't know. The height of a dog may not matter for the lifespan. And then you want to make sure you change all your labels to make it say maximum height versus maximum lifespan. So it's not showing all the old data. And if you look at that, my labels are wrong, but maybe the height correlates with the weight. If they are tall, maybe they are heavier, right? So it looks very similar to that, kind of. So you can change the columns by telling it, well, I don't want to try this. I want to try something else. Go ahead and put all those different things. And you can see what data makes sense, what plots are good for what columns of data. And here we have those vertical lines that says, okay, now I can categorize. I have some idea. And here is the syntax that says plot V line, axis V line. Where do you want the line? For small, medium, it's all vertical line. You're not drawing horizontal lines, and you tell it where you want it. X equals 25 says at 25, draw a line for me. Color equals R for red. And the label says small to medium, medium to large, and anything more than that. So you draw the lines to categorize them and say anything between 0 and 25 would be this, between 25 and that's 55, right, is the green line. So that would kind of show you how to categorize the data. Okay, so that's the scatter plot. And here we are looking at the histograms. Again, each one of these has a collab notebook. I'm trying not to open it because it's just going to take way too long. So looking at this kind of gives you an idea of what, and this is what you're doing in all of them. You're simply going through and trying to change each one of them Now, if you wanted to try your own, you could copy this whole thing. Let's say I want to copy this code. If I wanted to change something and you wanted to try a different one, copy it, come down here. And if you kind of move your mouse over here, you see where it says code, you click on that, and you can paste that code that you just copied. And so you're not changing the other one. You want to keep that maybe, and then you want to change this to something else. So let's see what other data we have here. If you want to get a scatter plot of, what should we try? I don't know, temperament? Let's try temperament. So you copy temperament and see how the temperament affects the lifespan of dogs. Okay, and then should change all the labels ideally. And there is a scatter plot of temperament and lifespan. Now we have a lot of words here, so that's probably not a good one for unless you are able to actually go through it and say, well, I can classify all these words that talk about the data. So temperament is really not numbers, right? It's describing the temperament of the dog. So there, that kind of tells you whether I should pick that or not for this, because I can go through this and figure out what it's telling me there. So that'll kind of give you an idea of what you are trying to do with the data. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any questions on that so far? Is that something that you've tried, or did you figure something out? What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go back here and see what else we have. That's the scatter plots. Oh, let's talk about the crosstabs, and then we can go into breakout rooms. So the crosstabs are the one that give us counts of individual categories. So if it's categorical data, then the crosstabs will help us give counts. So for example, hunting breeds, right? If you want to find how many dogs have a lifespan of 12 years in hunting breed. So crosstab charts. Let's see. Let's take a look at that. Close this, that doesn't have it. That's fine. Okay, so that's the last part. And then there are some pie charts that you can play around with as well. Okay. So a crosstab chart looks like this, where again, 2 columns, right? You have, and crosstabs are used for categorical data. So for example, you have all the different, and that's something you could do the temperament with. Temperament and lifespan could be done with crosstab instead of trying to do with scatter plots, right? So you have your breed group versus maximum lifespan. So if you look at your group now, looking at this data, you can look at it and say, well, under the herding group, 4 counts of in this data that you have, 4 counts of dog live up to 12 years, right? Or you can look at this last column, last row, the working breed, and say most dogs live between, 8 years or 11 years. There are more of them that are 6 and 8, but the frequency is more for 8, 11, and 13, and so on and so forth. So it kind of gives you the numbers. So if you're looking for numbers and counts of individual categorical data, then it's good to use crosstabs. So again, if you look at your Colab notebook, it has code in there. All you have to do is go and change the code to pick what you want, what columns you want. So you could try that. You could open the Colab notebook and say, well, I'm going to try temperament and lifespan and see how that changes and what that, gives you. And those are, yeah, go ahead.
Would these be best for like, if you're trying to find the average?
Sure, you can find the average. Some of those things, again, yeah, depending on the data that's in there, some of them you might have to do some manual math. Again, it all depends on the data that's given, right? What data do you have there? So you could use this to go across, maybe. There are other charts probably that are better for average, like the bar charts with the average. There is a unit on that actually. What's that? If you go to the bar charts, you can actually put in the code to get the average lifespan or the average weight instead of trying to put it under crosstab charts. So you could do dot mean or dot sum. So you could get the summation or the mean under bar charts. So you can get the average weight or the average height and things like that. So the crosstabs are more for like counts. You can look at the categorical data and the columns and figure out, how many do I have in this column and in this row. It's mainly used for things like that.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, so do you want to try some of these things? Can we do that? Do you have any other questions? Can we do breakout rooms and you guys can, there are so many practice data sets in there that you can open and try. Shall we do that?
I actually need to head to work, so
Okay.
I'm gonna. Okay.
No worries. Whoever is hanging out here, whoever wants to do it. Unless there are questions. Is that good? Okay, so let's do that.
Good.
Let me. Okay. So, and I think working in pairs is a good idea. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. There are 5 of you. So if I do 2 rooms, it'll give you 2 and 3. So that way one of you won't be left out. Hi, Ben.
Hello.
You're right on time. I just put them in breakout rooms.
Oh, okay.
And
Are they doing the Jupyter Notebook work?
yes. I just
Okay.
finished talking to them about all the different things, and I figured it's time for them to do something on their own so they can try it out. So I have 2 groups. I have like 5 students, and I just put them in breakout rooms. Jesse is in one of them, and I figured I'd give them a little bit of time before I popped into one. But if you want to pop into room 2, I can put you in there.
Sure. I don't know what help I'll be, but I'm slightly familiar with it from looking over the shoulder of Nick as he was doing it. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I can also pop in there, or you can go into Jesse's room. I can put you in there and see what they're doing.
Sure.
Okay,
That sounds good.
Okay. I will put you in room 1 and I will go to room 2.
Screen share here.
Can you screen share? I'm here. Oh,
Yeah.
no, now you can. Okay, I just
Okay.
enabled it. I forget. I always
Oh,
forget to
boy.
do that. I tell people you can screen share, and then I
think it's this one. I have a whole bunch of pages open. So I actually got my weeks mixed up and I was working on this last week. So the biggest problem I came against, what I did not know this, is we need to run all, like as you just mentioned today, we need to run these first.
yes.
And I kept going over the unit and I would run the second one and it would keep saying, file name or error name.
Yeah.
So I
Okay,
still
so
need
now
to,
you now
I
you
need
need
to upload that.
yeah. So yeah, you already have that, it seems like.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Wait, is that the right one? I need to rename it then.
Yes. Is that the one?
Let me check again. Let me just download it.
Yeah.
So let's hit delete. So I believe it, yes, this one. Yeah. So now I want to run that one
Mm-hmm.
and then this one. Yeah,
Oh,
see
so
when I
much
would
faster than mine.
yeah, I used to just do the second one first and then it wouldn't allow it just kept
Yeah.
saying name error.
Yeah.
Then now, yep, that works. So then this is for the assignment part for this week. I would essentially just use the graph I want to for the assignment part. That would best work for what we're doing for the assignment, correct?
Yes. Whatever you that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's so the assignment is very similar to all the practice ones, right? That's why we have you do
right,
all the practice ones where you're given different sets of data, you run different charts, and you see what works best. And you never, it's okay to not get it right the first time. I think that's one thing students struggle with in this class is they're afraid to get it wrong, or they think that if they get it wrong, that it's, you don't get it. That's not really true. You try different types of data and you say, okay, what is going to work best and what chart looks best for visualization and what can I conclude from this chart.
right.
And so yeah, and that's what it's all about. So this is, yes, so this is very similar to
And then
your
this one.
data sets.
I might honestly just have to like do a redo of this
Now is this
copy
all
one.
you copied everything from the others and brought it in here, right? All the different charts. Or
No. So this was
no?
for the week 8 assignment. There's a
Yeah.
link on the assignment part, so this is where this is coming from.
Okay, so it has everything then. All you have to do
Yeah.
is figure out what columns you want.
Right,
Or
right,
yes, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And
Okay.
I might have messed up some stuff because I was kept going through, so I might honestly just need to make a new copy of it.
Yep.
But I think I'm definitely understanding how it works a lot better.
Okay. Good.
Oh, here's a crosstab chart. So very big one.
Yeah, that's because it's going the other way. Try the yeah, but if you try different columns, the crosstab chart will look better.
So maybe
Put occupation name on the other side. It will look better already. So if you do or occupation group, um, make columns to be AI exposure. Yeah, make that occupation name and make that AI exposure.
AI exposure, okay.
Or yeah, try one of the other things. AI tiers.
AI exposure.
Yep.
All right. Put that right
That way it
here.
won't scroll.
Now run that.
Okay, that also I think has way too many numbers because the
Right.
exposure numbers, try AI tiers, that might be better because AI tiers, you only have 3 tiers, right? In the data, if you look at the data,
Right.
AI tiers, I think they are categorical. So the AI tiers are low, medium, high, something like that. So that way you'll have only 3 columns and it will look a lot better. Yeah, see?
Okay.
So yeah, so the tiers are high, low, medium, and all.
What is the bottom? What's this bottom part for the crosstab?
What does it say here? Oh, that's to add a heat map. Okay, so run that and you will see that it has colors. You know how in the lesson we had colors of heat map? Heat map kind of shows you where you have the most, where you have the least, and you can customize the heat map with colors to show like range values, right?
Okay, so
yeah.
or if you wanted to do green as true.
Right, right. And
Okay.
yeah, so it's colored and it just shows you where the different ranges are with respect to the numbers, and the colors kind of help you visualize, right? It's better
So
than
then
looking at these black and white stuff.
I would have to change if I wanted to get the colors, change this to occupation name, and then
Yes.
this one to AI
Change to AI
tiers.
tiers and then run it.
Okay.
Mhm. And then,
All
yeah,
right.
yep, that's all that's doing. So it gives you colors.
Um. So let's see if this one will run. Nope. Let's see
What's
what.
wrong? It has some errors. Let's see. Oh, you need to put in values for X and Y. So go up there. Yeah, all of
Okay.
those need values. So let's go pick a couple of values for scatter plot. Let's see what, let's go back to the data set. Let's take a look at our columns and see what all we have. So we have occupation group, and you can open the data file. Let's take a look at the data so we know what we are looking at. So we have, see, first column is occupation group. Okay, it gives you all the different
Right.
groups. Then you have occupation name within each group. Then you have employment, like how many people are employed.
Right.
Then comes the AI exposure, the number.
Okay.
Right, the smaller the number, the lower the exposure, I think. The higher the number, more exposure. Yeah, because if you look at the numbers,
Yeah. So then
yeah,
down
medium, and
way at
then
the bottom it gets to
yeah,
6, I
it
think.
goes, yeah. So those are the high numbers.
Right.
And then we have the tiers, which goes from low, medium, high, and then the median salary.
Okay.
Okay, so these are the things that we have. So maybe for the scatter plot, you could look at mediums, what's that? The salary, what's it called? Median salary. We could try median salary and occupation name or something like that.
So put that in the X.
Yeah, yes. You have to tell it for the scatter plot what columns to use, and in the Y. In the Y, you can pick a different.
And then occupation group.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Put that in Y. Yeah, that's why, because it doesn't have anything to generate a plot.
Right.
So there, the code is all there for you, but you fill it in with the values that you want to use to generate that code. So now if you run it.
I don't know why that's there.
Okay, that's that you're supposed to change all those things. So see the X label.
Oh, so that one.
so-
So the X label should be
It's,
median
yeah,
salary.
Employment. X label
Okay.
or if you change that, you should have median salary down there. So what we want you to do is try employment and occupation group. That's what we're saying. So that will show you how many people are employed in
Right.
certain occupation. Now we are looking at median salary, which is okay. So that also gives
So
us
let
a
me
better
try
idea.
this.
Yeah, put that in the label, or the other way around. Okay. And that you already have up there.
Oh, yep.
Yep. So now run it.
Oh wait, maybe because I was.
You have a space after employment. It doesn't like
Oh,
the
yep.
space. Yep. Excuse me.
There we go.
So there, it kind of shows you that, the occupation group, most of the people are, that number I'm thinking is like 100,000 or something like that, the employment, that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So most of the people are between that 0 and 100. There are very few people, administrative people, who are way out there.
So how? Okay, so how would you read this graph with the 0?
So it depends on what that employment is. Let's go take a look at what the employment column is showing us in the data set.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in the data set, let's see what employment is. See, it's by 100,000s.
Oh yeah.
So that 1, 2, 3 is really not 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking it's like 10,000
Yeah.
or something like that. So it's the number of people working in those categories.
Okay.
So if
So
you
then, like education, you got.
Yeah, it
And-
stops at, see, it stops like between 1 and 2. That's it. There's no
Oh,
more.
I see. So
3, that's
okay.
the cap,
Yeah.
right? We have the most people in administrative
Okay.
production. So it doesn't tell us much, right? I mean,
Right.
it tells us something, but I can't get much out of it. But try median salary and see, maybe that will give us. So that's how you look at data and say, well, this scatter plot doesn't give me much information. I mean,
So if another one I could do occupation group maybe with AI exposure and
Exactly.
see how much they're. Okay, I gotcha.
right. And try that. Or you can
Okay.
try AI tier. Yeah, the scatter plot is good for scatter plot and not bar charts, but the crosstabs are good for categorical data, right? So you can try all the category, like you could try the AI tier as well.
Okay.
See what you get out of that. And that, yeah, so that's what you're supposed to do is put in all the different columns and see what charts come out of it and what makes sense. Like see up there in the histogram.
I don't think this will run.
Yeah, again, I think we need to put in
Plot X label. Am I missing something?
let's see. What are we missing? DF columns. Histograms is probably missing the columns that we only have labels. Where does it tell what to
Like
use
these,
for
right?
plotting? Yeah, we need something. So go
Could
up,
I
see if there's
copy?
an. Yeah, you could. I'm just trying to see if there is anything else.
I may have deleted it accidentally at one point or something.
Yeah. So yeah, you could always copy it from your other lessons. Here, let me see if I can find something under histograms. Yeah, so you're probably just missing. See if there are other histograms up there. Is this the only histogram? Then you could just look at. Yeah, they have this. Yeah, they have different syntax here. I'm looking at mine. Mine is taking half an hour to come up. So
here, I could pull up one real quick. Content. Week 8 histograms.
yeah, there you can take it from there, and we could.
Here we go.
Yep.
So I do need to add the dogs real quick.
Well, you know what? All you have to do is see down there. You don't have to do any of those things. You can just copy the code from down where it says histogram, come all the way to the bottom where you have the piece of code. See that DF, all you need is that first line, DF
right
max,
here.
blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you just need to copy that. And then we'll put that over in your thing and we'll modify it.
Histogram, here we go. Right here?
Yeah, put it there. Okay, so now instead of max weight, we need to change it to one of our
right.
columns,
So
right?
maybe employment?
A histogram is bins, right? So you don't want employment. You want to have categories. Like each category, like low, medium, high. AI tier would be a good one for histogram, right? It's going to say, okay, how many people are in the low category, how many in the medium, how many in the high. So I would put that AI tier there. Yeah, and what else do we need to change?
Something not right here.
I would take that out. I have a feeling that is
delete
essentially
this whole
saying,
top part?
I would delete that whole top part. Because that's what we're saying in the next line. Okay. Now what is it not liking? No non-numeric frames or series allowed. Oh, it doesn't like AI tiers. Okay. Let's try median salary or employment. Let's try employment. Employment is numbers. Then we can figure it out from there.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. So now we have employment.
So what exactly is this
Yeah,
getting
there should
compared
be.
to?
Okay, so now let's go back to your other dogs. There should be something more there for histogram, I'm thinking.
Exclam. Just that one.
This has only that.
Oh, or not the title.
That's a title
Count?
and that's a label. Count is just the label. So what this is giving us is for the maximum weight, it is just giving us the count of the dogs for each weight. Let me see. Where else we have some good histograms?
So there are supposed to be two.
There's supposed to be, yeah, because what we want to do is we want to have multiple bins.
Right.
And how about you reduce the number of bins to try 3? I want to see if that makes sense. Okay. That still doesn't give us what we want. How about, let's see what other columns we have. Let's try some other columns just to see what we can get. Instead of employment, how about we try median salary?
Median salary.
Yeah.
Okay. That's that bottom one. So that should be median salary too.
Yeah, that would be the label. Here, let's see. What else
Yeah,
could
there
we
should be a
change here? There should be
Y
one
label.
more, I'm thinking. Yeah, there should be one more to tell it what, I can't remember how I did this before. I have to go back and take a look at
Let
it.
me try assignments 5. Oh, this is lab 5. Here we go. So here would be the, yeah, here it is on the, so I didn't change anything.
Yeah, so you have,
This is on like the
That's-
original document.
okay, so it's essentially what we put in there, and the Y label
Right.
would just be the count. So that's what it should give us. So it could be the columns as well. So the histogram is just going to give us a count of, the number of items in each category, I would think.
Okay.
So one thing we could try, and it has to be numbers because it's trying to count, right? That's why the tiers didn't work. So histogram may not give us anything for this particular
Right.
assignment, right? It's not going to give us much. What else do we have other than that? We have median salary, and it's going to give us a count of the number of people in each, and that's not going to help us for this
Right.
assignment. So it's a good example to show that it's not. Now the donut or pie chart is something you could use.
Try bar chart.
Bar chart also is something you can use. Bar chart with median salary or.
So find the sum. Okay, so then here I would just put
The
one
column
of these.
name.
So bar chart, what would be a good one? Median salary.
Median salary is a good one for bar chart.
Oh, so this is similar to a histogram.
Histogram. Yeah, it's kind of.
Oh wow, yeah. Can't read anything.
Yeah, so that was not a good one. How about you try AI exposure, or maybe occupation name or group? Occupation group might not be a bad one because it'll count within each group. It will give us the counts. That might be a good one for bar chart. There,
Oh, yeah.
right? So that's kind of how the bar charts.
So what are we like? We're just getting a count. So
that shows you that production has the most number of, production has the most number of people. That's what that shows.
Oh, okay, I see. Got
See?
okay. That's
And,
how we could use it.
Right. And that shows you that, production has more number of people. The next is education.
And then donut or pie chart.
Yeah. And that you could do, what do we have? We have AI tiers. You can see how many people are in the low, medium, and high category. That would be like a donut chart is like a pie chart that tells
Right.
you how many people are in each category. So it's good for categorical data.
So we would put right here. Next three stations add a white color to dry donut chart.
Yeah, that's all. I
Do I
think
need
that's
to do
all.
anything with this?
Nope.
Okay.
Just that. That's all you need to do. And then, of course, the labels you can always add
Right.
later. But
Oh wow.
yeah.
So
So not exposure. I would do tier. Exposure is way
Okay.
too many. I would do AI
Right.
tier. Yeah, AI tiers. Because that is less.
see.
The exposure goes like all the way from 6 to like negative number, right? That's way too many.
Right.
So I would do AI tiers.
Here we go.
Yeah, that kind of, see, that gives you a very good idea that, 40% are in the low tier, 33% are in medium, and so it gives you some information.
And what would we put for the X label, Y label, and title?
You wouldn't really have any X label, so you don't have to print X label or Y label in this case. You just print title.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't have to print X label, Y label.
And this would just be AI tiers comparing to
Just
Exactly.
between the total number of people. Out of the total
Okay.
number of people that are classified in there, 40% are low tier, right? Given the
okay.
occupation group and the number of people, 40% of the
Okay.
people are in low tier, 33% in medium tier, and 26% in high tier. That's what that shows
Okay.
you.
Gotcha. All right. I think that's all of them, except for this part.
What's that doing there?
This is to find the summer average for AI tiers.
Okay, so you could do some or mean of AI tiers, meaning the average mean of the number of people categorized by each tier. That's what that would do. So it would,
Oh, I see. All right.
see, this is better than the histogram. So the histogram is no good. That's the chart I was thinking about when I knew I had done one of the bar charts for the tiers.
Right.
And that's better. So the histogram is really of no use in this case.
All right.
But yeah, I would try more of the what do you call that? The crosstabs. Because the crosstab will help you count the number of people and all that.
Okay.
So instead of occupation name, you could also try occupation group.
Oh,
So
okay.
in the crosstab, try occupation group, because you have more groups than names right there on the last line. Yeah, right there. So that gives you a comprehensive count of the number of people in high, low, and medium for each group.
How much they're affected by AI tiers?
Yeah. So if you look at it like, look at that data, and for example, engineering is in the top, it's 20, 22.
Right.
Who is the largest? If you look in the high tier, which is the first column, go down and see, you can quickly tell who's the largest, right? Production. See, production has the most number of people in the high tier.
Right.
And then you can also do something. See, it also gives you all the last column. So 40 out of 100, right? So 40%.
Right.
If you look at engineering, it's 22 out of 34.
Wow,
so
right.
percentage wise, who's more, right? 40 out of 100 is only 40, but 22 out of 100 is what? If you do the percentage, 22
22
divided.
out of 34.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, engineering's affected
Is
at the higher
is
level.
yeah, because it's at 65%. That's even
Right.
so you shouldn't look at just the number. The number is good, but you should look at the total number of people, right? Because if it's
Right.
2 out of 10 versus 2 out of 1,000, which one is more important to you? The 2 out of 10 obviously is a higher percentage, right?
Right.
So, and this is where you would use the heat map, which is in the next one. And
Yeah.
if you use the heat map, it'll kind of show you the colors and things like that. So you can do the same thing and apply the heat map and see how that looks. Kelly, does that make sense?
It does. It
Okay.
does. Thank you.
What would happen if I changed this to AI exposure?
You could try. The only problem with that AI exposure is a whole bunch of numbers, right? It depends on how it's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
categorize it. You see, we start like at 6 and we go all the way to negative something.
Oh,
So the
yeah.
range is just too many.
Too much. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas
I
the tiers is nice because it's low, medium, high, 3 categories.
Right.
And but that's what you're learning, right? I mean, those are the things that you're trying to identify. What happens? You put AI exposure there and see, you get just you get like a crosstab chart that doesn't make any sense to you,
Right.
right? You can't get anything, you can't infer anything useful out of that thing.
Right.
So, and those are the kind of things that's all we are looking in this unit. Nothing more complicated than that. We just want to show you that there are different charts out there, how you use data, because data science is a big deal, right? People are collecting data for everything. What do they do with your data? This is what they do. They analyze it, they look at it. They have programs that will quickly bring up charts and say, hey, look, people are buying a lot of this stuff, whatever.
Right.
Right. And yeah, there are people, scientists run this all the time to figure out what to sell, what to market.
All right. Well, I think that's everything. That helped a lot.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, well, Kelly, I hope that helped you as well. So this is
That
kind of
did
what we
help
were.
me.
Okay. But we've looked at a lot of the assignment also. This is kind of what I was going to do on Thursday, is to kind of help students understand what the assignment is all about and how they should look at the data and, how they should analyze it so they can make informed decisions. So,
Yeah. Thank
All
you so
right.
much for the help.
okay. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Gayatri, do you have something for us?
No, I just came to tell you that my other students have left, and if you don't need me, I can leave. I was just coming to see what you guys were doing.
I
was just
had
barging in.
I had one question. We were looking at a pie chart, and can you hover over the code and get to some kind of help file? Is that possible with these Jupyter notebooks? Like, how do you get to the help about the different parameter list in the pie chart, for instance?
That is a good question, and I have no idea. I can find out.
Okay.
And you can hover
Okay.
over the code, but most of the information that I've asked students to do is go back to the lessons and copy
Okay.
there. But there should be some help. I need to find out where where there should be some documentation on what each one of these things do, right? There should be some information like what do you put for histogram and what do you put for bar charts and pie charts and things like that.
Yeah, we went from a donut to a pie and back. So there are definitely a lot of features like that, which are not necessarily part of the lesson, but they're kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. Sure. I don't know. I have to make a note to myself, and it would be good to put like a help thing in there, I guess. So people who want to go and get self-help can do that. I will add a note. I will check with Stephanie and see if we can add some place where they can get documentation for this from. Okay.
Oh, there's a
Looks like Brett just sent a link in the chat, actually. So that's
Well, there you
possible.
go.
There you go.
I can give you a little data.
Thanks, Brett.
So everyone save the chat now. The 3 dots, save chat.
Here, let me
Works
copy
fine.
that.
I'm
and
just
put it in.
I'm gonna open up the page and then I'll
Yeah,
just
I have it in my
save the
sticky
tab.
notes, and then if you, I'll try and put that up somewhere. In there. Okay,
Cool. Thanks all.
Thank you.
all right, okay.
Hey, everyone, thanks so much for having these sessions. It's really helpful.
Oh, no
You're
worries. Did you
welcome.
guys have to have a time to look at assignment 5 at all, or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay,
Thursday,
all
though,
right, good.
right?
Okay, yeah, Thursday. That's why I asked. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Have a nice evening.
Mhm.